Well, tonight, minority in parliament tears into government, accusing it of unconstitutionality and issuing guidelines for the District Assemblies Common Fund's distribution, contradicting the formula approved by parliament under Article 252 of the 1992 Constitution.
I got me feeling alright.
Upon careful review, these guidelines contain fundamental inconsistencies, clear legal breaches, and deep contradictions with the 2025 District Assembly Common Fund formula duly approved by Parliament.
We have details from Parliament where the caucus is threatening to use all political and legal avenues to challenge the decision of government. Here on Top Story, brought to you by Telecel, Connecting Energies, Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil, Enjoy Holy Sleep, and also by Short Pension Trust, Into the Future with you. Well, the Ghanaian government is facing heat from the minority in parliament over the distribution of the District Assemblies Common Fund. Minority Chief Whip Frank Annoh-Dompreh alleges the government has unconstitutionally issued guidelines for the fund's distribution, contradicting the formula approved by parliament under Article 252 of the 1992 Constitution. Now, Annoh-Dompreh claims the guidelines are, quote, unquote, constitutionally inconsistent and point to alleged fiscal mismanagement under the NDC administration. The minority is calling for accountability and adherence to the constitutional framework approved by Parliament.
And are the 2025 guidelines for the utilization of District Assemblies Common Fund issued by the Ministry of Local Government and approved of by Cabinet. Upon careful review, these guidelines contain fundamental inconsistencies, clear legal breaches, and deep contradictions with the 2025 District Assembly Common Fund formula duly approved by Parliament. Let us be unequivocal. This is not a technical quarrel. This is certainly not an administrative oversight. And this is not a routine policy disagreement. For us as a minority caucus and many discerning Ghanaians, this is certainly a constitutional issue. This is a governance issue, and by extension, this is a democratic accountability issue. Now, the begging question is why we're speaking out today. Article 252 of our cherished 1992 Constitution is clear and ambiguous. It vests in Parliament, and Parliament alone, the authority to determine the formula for the sharing of the District Assembly Common Fund across our 261 MMDAs. That authority is neither symbolic nor advisory. It is binding. In accordance with this mandate, Parliament approved the 2025 DACF formula allocating some 7.51 million Ghana cedis for the fiscal year and distributing it based on scientifically grounded equity drive model.
So that's the minority chief whip, there, Frank Annoh-Dompreh. Let me bring in parliamentary affairs correspondent Kwaku Asante, who is standing by with some details. Kwaku, so what will the minority do about these claims of unconstitutionality?
So, Kojo Brace, at the center of this dispute is some of the guidelines issued by the local government minister, which directs the district assemblies on how to utilize part of the funds. For instance, we know that government is embarking on this aggressive 24-hour economy drive, for which reason government is seeking to set up what they call 24-hour economy markets in all 216 districts of the country. And these markets are to be constructed using the District Assemblies Common Fund. And so the guidelines have since gone to the district assemblies who are set to implement this. But Frank Annoh-Dompreh and his side see that the guidelines they promulgated in Parliament, the District Assembly Common Fund formula that they have promulgated, is not the benchmark for which these guidelines have been issued. And they say they are open to a raft of legal and political avenues to vindicate their rights. They are open to going to court. They are also open to using the procedures and processes in Parliament to press home that demand that the local government minister and the government ultimately are breaching the Constitution and the relevant laws. Listen to him on all these measures that they could take if they so want to take this up.
Whether to go to court or not, it's a civil option, and it's one of the options we're looking at as a group. And you know, as far as the history of our country is concerned, right from the reforms that the Electoral Commission has implemented over the past 2 decades or so, many of them, voting with a picture on your voting ID card, from the opaque ballot boxes, and all these, a lot of them have come from us as a tradition, as a party. So we believe in the constitutional order, and when we find it important, we will go to court. But we are not necessarily going to be litigating. At the end of the day, we have the option to also speak up, and we also test the listening power of the president. The president says he's a listening president. We will see whether indeed he listens. So we will do this. We will take further action to formally bring these tests in proper context to the notification of His Excellency the President, the powers that be. In the fullness of time, we will be able to decide on the best option to resort to.
So that is the minority chief whip there. Let's broaden this whole discussion by bringing him in. Frank Annoh-Dompreh himself will be joining us, but we'll also be joined by Franklin Kojo as well, who is president of Imani Africa. Franklin, I'm told, is with us on the telephone lines now. Franklin, you probably have looked at this DACF thing well and probably understand how it must be administered. Does the minority have a point here when they are saying that that is better following what Parliament approved?
Oh, good evening. Good evening to yourself and your listeners. First of all, I think there's a legitimate conversation to have. And I think that the minority is on all fours on this one. But the strange thing, though, is that, the abuse of the Common Fund had been orchestrated by both sides for a very long time. I'm surprised that Annoh-Dompreh and the minority just found out all of a sudden that the formula seems to have changed. And then all of a sudden they are complaining. The formula has always been rigged all the time. You know the MPs are not supposed to receive a dime, not a cedi, on the District Assemblies Common Fund. You know that.
I've been reading what you had
but
on
they get
your
money.
Website.
I don't know how they managed to get it. Either they harass the DACF or something like that, all of them, to get money and then use on. I think they got like 350,000 the other time for project, then 150,000 for monetary project. I'm surprised. Are MPs contractors? So you ask yourself, the District Assembly Common Fund has been abused by both sides. So it beggars believe that now that probably the rules are still being gamed, all of a sudden one side is complaining. They are
what is the
happily
formula
participating
stipulated by law
in
for
the
it to
abuse
be
by themselves.
for
So
the distribution of the DACF?
I think it is important to address that matter, that the MPs have no right, and indeed it goes for the majority as well. You have no right to tamper with anything, unless, of course, they change it in Parliament. And that's another press point. But as I'm saying, it is also good to also make the point that they should stop tinkering and harassing the DACF. I understand they're even going to harass the DACF for further money, free money. Why? We should stop doing that. So both sides are guilty on this particular score. If they want to make any amendment, they should go to Parliament and get it done. But as it stands, both of them are really cooperating in this matter. So I don't know whether to placate one and leave the other.
Okay. So I mean, if we're trying to get the education out there, what is the formula as prescribed by law? How should the DACF be administered, really?
Well, I think that's the 40, 56, and a 4% formula. I mean, that, how do you call it? There's a tripartite way of dividing the money up, right? So that comes 100%. I think a bit of it is actually based on the level of need, So
So it does not lie in Parliament's hands to indicate how the DACF should be administered.
Sorry, ask that again. Sorry.
I'm asking that. Does it mean Parliament doesn't have a role to indicate or to direct how the DACF is administered?
Not at all. In fact, it's actually laid out in law. It's true and it's right. What Annoh-Dompreh says, the minority says, is totally right. But in practice, it's been breached more than than it's been observed. I've just given an example of the DACF, which they are not supposed to receive a dime, but they keep on harassing and getting more money all the time. So this has come to them probably as a shocker. But and as I say, they all happily participate. So both sides must zilch and go back to the law and decide to change it if they want to change it. Otherwise, this is just, I think it's just all politics. Yeah.
But must the focus be on the formula or on the objective of the fund, as in whether it bringing about the development that is needed or not?
You know, once we get into those type of conversations, because again, the original formula is supposed to ensure equity. However, they're supposed to attain it. I think it's working as we speak. But it looks to me that what the NDC wants to do is actually use the same money, and this time around make it fiscally equal for every district. They may have a point, because if we look at the allocations they are making, markets, if they reduce everything to almost an average of about 10% for several of the initiatives they want to undertake, someone takes a look at this and says, oh, but this is fair, but is that the law? It's not the law. You understand? So, as I'm saying, both what the minority is saying is right, that it goes against what has been already approved by Parliament. So if anybody wants to change anything, they should go back to Parliament. I only please that both of them are actually guilty. Because all of them collect the District Assemblies Common Fund when they are not supposed to receive a dime. You understand? So in any case, if any one person is crying, well, both should be crying and go back to the law and change it. That's my point.
So, for you, what you're saying is that in correcting this, we must go back to the law. Is that it, or there is something else that must be done?
Oh yes, that's exactly what ought to be done. You see, otherwise, look, the next government comes and says, "Okay, me too, I want to change it," and they can easily do anything they want. Unfortunately, as I said, the DACF formula has been observed more in breach than in compliance. So this is a wake-up call. It's good that the minority is complaining. My suspicions are that if you look at the formula the NDC is using right now, which is again far away from the approved formula, it appears as though they may be, I mean, in political circles, I could tell me as trying to garner votes and then make sure you sort of emasculate the opposition. That's exactly what I feel the minority is worried about. But as I say, exactly the point. So you complain about one side, but you've forgotten that you're happily participating. As we speak, I'm told that both sides are ganging up to basically harass the DACF for more money when they are not supposed to receive a dime. You understand? They receive how much? They receive something. I think they get like 300,000 CDs for projects, and 150,000.
But when their constituents are, for lack of a better word, harassing them for developmental projects, aren't they then also, entitled to get a percentage to then execute the project that their constituents are asking them for? I see in that write-up on your website that you disagree about the whole, but they are representing their constituent who also demand that they do developmental project.
Well, they are representing people to make laws. I'm sure you've read the Constitution.
Exactly. Yes. That's true.
So they are not supposed to be. Building pilots and building lots of. They can contribute, but you see, even the more sensible thing to do when that argument comes is that anything you want to do, go to the DACF people, district assemblies, and suggest projects that should be done. You can say, "Oh, I suggested this, and it was done," but not to be giving money out of the DACF use it as the way you want. Some use it for funerals, some use it for weddings. What's that? They're not supposed to receive a dime from the DCF. So the argument that, they are development agents, who made them development agents? They are supposed to be lawmakers. If by extension, because of the position they occupy in society, people see them and ask for all sorts of favors, which I understand, they should work with the district assemblies and say, okay, look, I see that there are overwhelming needs in this area. Could you allocate some of the money for something like this? And then they can work together. But, one person is undermining the other. The district assembly guys somehow looking to contest the MP. So there's no peace, you understand? So that's not a reason why we should divide the money and give to anybody. I think the DACF has to be respected.
So as for you, it's a no-no for MPs, and they
cannot
be changed
for
even
both.
though times
this one
have
as
changed.
well as the original. I'm surprised Annoh-Dompreh is quiet on the pillaging of the DACF by both sides, which is against the law, by the way.
They say they will go to court.
Yeah, but you see, when they go to court, it will be funny because you see, well, they may, but I guess some people can also contact you and say, look, what are you talking? Even the judges would probably say, but you cry. Why are you here? All of you already participating.
Call has been put on hold. Please wait.
Making the DACF.
Your call has been put on hold.
Hello?
Please wait.
I'm with you, sir.
Yeah, both parties participate in disregarding the law anyway. So now that this one seems to be biting a bit more, you have come here to complain. Go and fix it in Parliament. I'm sure that's what the judges will tell them.
But if the MP's component they do get, though, as you are given the education, is not legal, if it has not created a problem, why fix it?
Who told you it's not created a problem? Do you know how much money was supposed to be allocated to the DACF, I think last year or 2 years ago? Close to about 7 billion or so. Do you know how much went? That's under a little under a billion. So if out of that money, MPs go and collect these humongous sums I'm talking about, don't you think it undermines development? So the point really is not about the fact that it's not broken, so it's not to be fixed. If they're asking for this amount when the revenues are not coming up, the next thing they'll be asking for is that they commandeer the whole DCF and then decide to do whatever they want to do. And politicians, when they gang up, they can do anything. I fear that they are likely to do so in the next a few cities, where they'll both gang up and then go and raid the DACF and get more money than they are supposed to be getting. Don't trust politicians when they gang up, when they agree.
But if they do, what should stop them?
So you and I should stop them.
Okay.
We should stop them, go to court and say, Kenya stopped this whole funny thing. And Bakavama was telling me yesterday that, Kenya stopped this, the court stopped this thing long ago, where MPs can decide, wake up and say, we are raiding the common fund. They stopped it. We are likely to go to court. In any case, there's a case decided already. I think Kodo versus, I've forgotten the name. There's a Supreme Court case decided, which exactly stated that so the DACF hands off, parliamentarians should hands off the DACF, right? So that can be used already in citing this particular one as an offside, as well as the original point I made about the DACF being raided by MPs for all kinds of activities. I heard one MP say that he spent my good friend, the Wale guy, he says he spent 30,000 pieces of food. Where do you get all that money for? Then later you come and cry and go and raid the DACF. We will not give a dime to you again. And I think if they go further and do that, we'll go to court and stop them.
Okay. Frankly, please do stay with me. Let me bring in Alfred J. He is NALAC president, joining us on the lines now. Mr. J, I'm grateful to you for joining.
Thank you
can
very
you share
much.
what's the current formula for distributing the DACF now?
Okay, so I want to listen to your discussion. From the minority point of view, let's start from the minority point of view, okay? The argument is the fixed national percentage allocation for certain project categories, not in parliamentary formula. That is the argument. The second is the risk creating administrative confusion and legal uncertainty. That is one thing to be raised. They also spoke about the reduced equity or fiscal autonomy for MMDAs, okay? and also they spoke about the undermining decentralization, essentially creating what a parallel allocation regime. It's very clear on this. And first, let's look at the legal framework. Okay, now Article 252 of the 1992 Constitution and the legal framework you can refer to that is okay. And when to Article 256, Parliament shall subject to the Constitution make provisions for the allocation of.
Mr. J, sorry, you're giving us some good education, but your line keeps tripping. So if you can just reposition yourself a bit for me, I'll be grateful.
Yeah. Is it clear?
Let's try it.
Hello,
Mr. J.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Let's go on.
You can make also reference to the Article 252.3. Money accruing from the DACF shall be distributed to all MMDs based on formula approved by Parliament, which is there. Okay?
Oh, okay.
So, which implies that, is it clear?
Yeah, it's very, very clear, yes.
Okay, which implies only Parliament can approve the formula used to distribute DACF resources. Okay? Administrative guidelines should not be. Okay, so the formula which ought to be given out by Parliament. Okay? And you can also look at the District Assemblies Common Fund Act, the Act 44. Okay? And the key provisions, we will be looking at the establishment of DACF fund and the governance structure. Now, if you can go on and on and on, but you see, let's look at the technical issues at stake. Okay, we're looking at the equity versus perspective, maybe allocation. Okay, and then the parliamentary formula is meant to balance need criteria, and that is where you focus on the population and the service pressure. Okay, prescribing fixed percentage for this category in terms of maybe sanitation, cheap compound school, re-standardizing what spending priorities across highly diverse districts. No, our point here from the NALAC point of view is local authorities must tailor development to unique local needs. Okay, which ought to be done. Now, coming back to your question. Hello.
I'm with you, sir.
Hello.
Mr. J, do I still have you? Unfortunately, I've lost Mr. J there. But if I still do have Franklin on the line. Franklin,
Yes.
You heard Mr. J there saying that the law says the formula must be approved by Parliament. So in that case, that's the minority. Have a point here because the law prescribes that the Parliament should then dictate the formula for which the DACF should be shared.
Yes, as I say, I agree, as I said earlier, that the formula is cast in stone, right? So what you need to do is to be tinkering around it, depending on the allocations you have for a year, because you never really get all the money that you want anyway. So whatever amount you get, there's a formula that is supposed to guide all these allocations. So that is cast in stone. The problem is that, as I said, these things are observed more in breach than in practice.
Okay.
And the number one crime that both sides commit is basically harassing the fund, harassing the fund for money, claiming they're development agents. They should go to the districts and work with the DCs and MCs and say, okay, I want this project done, but not to be giving the money and do as they please. It's wrong. So that's the first sin.
Okay.
The second sin is what Annoh-Dompreh is referring to. But he needs to cure himself of the original sin, he and the majority, before they even talk about this. So that's the point I'm making. If they go to court, I'm sure the judge will say, look, you are all sinners. Go and deal with your sins in Parliament.
Okay. I'm grateful to you, Mr. Franklin
My
Kijo,
pleasure.
for joining us here. Franklin Kijo is the president for Imani Africa. Alfred Ajay, who is not our president, has rejoined us. Alfred, so you're making a point about the fact that NALAC has a certain perspective on this particular discussion.
So ask a question.
So you were talking about. So I just wanted to find out. I mean, you've stated that Parliament must approve a certain formula. What formula have you been given at the local assembly, in terms of how you should distribute to the DACF? Hello, Mr. J.
Come on. Hello.
Yes, I'm asking whether the formula you've been given ties in with what Parliament, prescribed.
The formula is clearly stated in the District Assemblies Common Fund Act. That is the Act 455.
Okay.
Okay, the Act 455. Okay, which says that the law in which. Hello.
I'm with you,
I'm
sir.
standing there. Yeah, the Act 455. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Now, the argument is about the fact that some people say the MPs, and I've been speaking to Mr. Kojo a while ago. He says MPs do not have any right to even take a portion of the DACF. Is that a position that NALAG also shares in? Hello, Mr. J. After J, do I still have you? Unfortunately, we're having challenges with Alfred J's line. He is president of NALAG. I wanted to really get him to share with us his perspective on the position coming in from Parliament today. But I'm sure the discussion is not going to die down soon about whether, the minority have a point. But they say they will go to court. The Imani Africa is also indicating that, well, they might also go to court to challenge how MPs do get portions of this whole District Assembly Common Fund. Well, this has been Top Story, brought to you always by Telecel, Connecting Energies, Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil, Enjoy Holy Sleep, and also by Shield Pension Trust into the future with you. My name is Samuel Kojo Brace. Let's end it here. Up next will be Newsnight after these.